Okay, I guess we're live. Let me see if I can not make too much wobble here. Welcome. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Welcome. Chandra's us and Odyssey. As you can tell, I'm not looking the best. My little one came home from school last Wednesday with a big fever. And so I got to experience the automatic belief in my brain that I've been working really hard to create. It's what I do with my clients, is help create beliefs. Belief in our own ability, choosing to believe in things that serve us and help us get to where we want. And so all of our brains by default, our brains like to go to something's gone wrong, something's horribly wrong. And so understanding that that's how our brain works, our brain's just trying to help us survive, it's just trying to look out for everything that could go wrong, to prevent it, to make sure that we live. But it gets overused and it actually inhibits us. So my brain, I have definitely a scaredy pants brain. My brain really likes to focus on the negative by default, like most people's brains, unless they've been trained or exposed to belief work and believing in themselves, believing in life. Religion actually creates a lot of belief and faith and trust. And so I do this work with my clients all the time, and I've been really doing this work with my brain. And I got this thought, and I don't remember where I got this thought. It started popping up, and I really liked it. And the thought is, the universe has my back. It's such a great thought. And I've been working on actually creating it as a belief. And so a belief is just a well-worn thought that we think over and over until we actually believe it. So we could think that the world is out to get us, everything's against us. We can think that way, or we can think the universe has my back. And it's relatively easy if life is relatively easy, things are going relatively well. It's easy to think like, okay, things are going well. It's even harder to think that the universe has my back when things don't go as planned, when things seem to be going wrong. And what I found is that oftentimes, almost always, I would even gamble to say always, except for I like to stay away from extremes. But most often there is some kind of silver lining in seemingly moments that seem to be going wrong. I have a friend who was in an extremely serious car accident a year ago, and he's such a magical person, and he and I jam a lot on this kind of belief work and universe work. And he was almost killed. It was a very, very serious car accident. And he was suspended on life support because they weren't sure if his liver was going to be producing blood, which would have meant that he wouldn't have been able to stay living. It was very extreme. And we chatted a lot through his whole healing process. And from a very early time, he was able to really see the silver lining in this horrific car accident. And so what I found is that oftentimes if there is a silver lining, there is a massive gift that comes out of it. And the sooner we can choose to believe that there's the hard moment. Yes, there's, he went through so much pain and so much necessary healing, and a lot of his life went on hold. There was all kinds of things to feel sad and angry and grieve and frustrated and struggle. All of that is still really important to feel. So I'm not saying just pretend like everything's great. But the sooner we can believe that there is something good that comes out of it, or that there's a reason for it, or that the universe has our back, and that even in the midst of all this extreme hardship, that there is a silver lining. And so that is where the universe has my back comes in as a really useful belief to move through the hard moments, not pretending like it's not sad or frustrating or hard, but moving through it with humanness, accepting and allowing this is part of life. These 50% of, my daughter came home sick with this crazy high fever. I was up every night, all night on Wednesday night, and I had a full client day the next day. And my old brain would have said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to cancel everything. My clients are gonna quit. My business is over. Our brains like to catastrophize, just like my brain likes to catastrophize. But in the middle of the night, what was so fascinating is that I was like, okay, she has a fever. This is part of life, and the universe has my back. And I felt it. Like when we really believe something, we feel it in our body. We feel the truth of it. We feel the resonance. It's not just like think positive and like it'll happen. It's like thinking to the point where we actually believe it. And I felt this calm trust in my body. And I just trusted. I was like, the universe has my back. Like, this is part of life. I'm here for my daughter. I'm going to be up all night with her, helping her, supporting her body through this. And the universe has my back. And it was such a powerful place to have finally really come to in the middle of the night, you know, when our brains can go even more wild with all of the horrible, what's gone wrong pieces. And for me to just have that thought come into my brain as like a default, because what happens is like, in the beginning, when we think things, when we're changing our beliefs, when we're changing our mindset and our perspective, which is what I do all the time with my clients and myself, is we think it, but we don't totally believe it. And so when we keep practicing it and when we keep collecting evidence that it's true, when we keep pointing our brain to show, yes, this is true. Yes, like there's often a silver lining. Yes, there's often a gift in these hard moments. Can I accept it? Can I allow it? Can I trust it? Can I trust it in this seeming tragedy? There is a gift. Can I trust that the universe has my back? So getting to this place and believing, having my brain and my body believe that like, yes, this is gonna be okay. Yes, this is not comfortable. Yes, I'm here with my daughter. Yes, she has a fever. Yes, this is tough. And I'm gonna choose to believe. I did all the work that my brain believed, like by default, which is what happens, like our automatic, when we think thoughts on purpose with our prefrontal cortex, eventually they become automated into our primal brain. And so that's where you really start to change like our core personality. We start to change who we are. We start to stop worrying about the future or regretting the past or believing that things are out to get us, that the universe is like conspiring against us. It's just a matter of a belief, you know, and where do we allow our brain to focus? So the next day, three of my clients, I had like a really packed day. Three of my clients canceled for their own reasons. They had all the different meetings, bosses scheduled, sickness, the likes. Three of them requested, and two of them were new calls and new clients that signed. And so it was like, not only did my client load like decrease, but I also like actually signed clients. Like it was like this really cool brain trip, and I was just smiling and I was like, wow, how amazing it is to consciously choose to trust that the universe has my back. There's another story that involves my partner, and he was applying for a job a few months ago and he really wanted it. It was a company that he really likes, and it didn't work out. And I remember talking to one of my dear friends on the phone about it and saying, you know, maybe this is like the universe supporting us. Maybe this is like the best thing. Even though like in the middle of that happening, like I wanted him to get the job, he wanted to get the job, like we both fully wanted it, but like accepting and trusting that maybe there's a silver lining to this. And he actually ended up getting so many things changed. And he ended up getting the job that he wanted even more, which has a lot of benefits to our whole life, to his amount of time he's working every day. So we like kind of have also smiled about that, of like, you know, he had a hard time trusting. It was we went through a crazy year this last year, and you know, I think to attest to believing that the universe has our back, especially when it's tough, especially when it seems like everything's going wrong and things are stacked against us, and it's tough to choose to believe then that like that is, I don't know, I really like to think about, you know, I have a really dear friend who, she's really, really religious, and we had this really long, in-depth Marco Polo religion talk last year, and she really pointed out the power of faith and trust, and when like what her religious beliefs give her in this like faith in a higher power, in God, and that he has a plan, and that there's this certain amount of like I'm not alone in the world, like it's not all in my control, and that there's this like offer to trust and have faith. And so I'm not a religious person. I think there's a lot of downfalls of religion, but I do have a relationship with the universe where I do really believe that we are all connected, that we're not alone, that we have these matter and energy, and I really feel like I can talk to the universe. And how much of that is just me putting my energy out there and believing that it's heard and believing that it's real? I don't know how much of it's like anecdotal or how much of it's, but for me, it works. And to choose to, whatever form it is, whether it's God or whether it's the universe or whether it's a higher power or whether it's Mother Earth, but to choose to trust. Like the opposite is like fear and doubt and wrong. And the more we can step into trust, it's like, it's such a boost. It's such a boost for living in a different, so when we're like in fear, like it's when a lot of like stress pops up. And when we're in stress, like our brains are not thinking at their highest level, and our body literally has like physiological effects from the stress. And so, which is a big part of what I help my clients with, is like lowering stress internally and doing this mindset shift into trusting, choosing trust, and internally managing fear, talking back to our brain, allowing our feelings. Like there's a simple yet like not well known yet profound way of being in relationship internally with ourselves that can really change our stress levels on a very practical level. I mean, imagine me in the middle of the night with my daughter having a fever, me going into a state of stress and cortisol and worry and anxiety around my daughter being sick, and then obviously she's gonna be home all day, which means, you know, I mean, there was just all of these moving pieces. I didn't have a babysitter, like, you know, like how do I, and then I'm probably going to sit, which I did get sick. So like, imagine me going into a state of stress and worry, like what that does to my body. It lowers my immune system, it puts cortisol and adrenaline in my body, it makes me sleep less, it means that I'm not like, it means I'm not thinking very well, I might have like given her different medicine or made bad decisions. Like when we're stressed, it's just not useful unless it's like a true emergency where there's blood involved but it's just so rare that happens. Like generally being able to lower our internal stress levels when things are stressful, when there are those life stressors, being able to manage that stress is just so insanely important to our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. And choosing trust, like we can actually choose, we can rewire our neural pathways to choose to default to trusting that the universe has my back versus stressing out that it's everything. Like there's nothing there's in the middle of the night while she's sick, there's nothing I can do to change the situation. And so stressing about it is just totally useless. Stepping into trust, the universe has my back, is so useful. It's so useful. And it's such a good feeling to trust. I work a lot with my clients first, like understanding like the indulgent emotions, the overwhelm, the confusion, the self-doubt, the fear, all of these emotions that really like hold us back and keep us small. So we start uncovering them and figuring out, okay, what thoughts are creating those, what's going on, how are you seeing the situation? And then we get to this exciting point where you start being like, well, how do you want to feel about this? You know, and trust is one of the biggest emotions that people choose. I want to trust myself. I want to trust my partner. Connection also. I mean, I want to feel more connected. I don't know about you, but for me, thinking that the universe has my back makes me feel really connected to the universe. It makes me trust that it's going to work out one way or another. I can totally deal with the life that happens. Like life is not perfect. Life has, it's 50% of hard, shitty, sad, frustrating pieces, but we can navigate those from a trusting place and show up and deal with them and feel them and figure it out. All right, so thank you so much for your time today. I want to really offer you the thought, the universe has your back. So practice thinking it, practice believing it. And this is the beginning of some YouTube lives that I'm gonna be doing. And the next couple weeks are gonna be with Dr. Sharman. We're gonna talk about hormone health. And I'm very excited to bring her back on the podcast. And I am also open to any more topics. I have a million topics to keep talking about, but if you have something, please comment in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're not already a subscriber of this channel, please subscribe. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Thank you. Trust the universe.